Join Mike and Lindsey as they break down the shifting landscape of short-term rentals in Cleveland and across the country. From Airbnb saturation and falling nightly rates to the rise of midterm stays and corporate housing, they share what it takes to stay profitable when everyone's becoming a host. They also talk about how marketing, relationships, and quick response times separate the pros from the rest. All this and more on the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast.
To recap, Lindsey, you were saying, everybody and their dog's now doing Airbnb, right?
Yeah, and
what are you hearing from the pulse of the market?
It's not just what we've been talking about in our office, which is we're seeing it here in Cleveland. It's nationally. It's actually happening in real time.
Oh, yes.
In other places. And the commentary from other people besides me in these Facebook Airbnb groups is they're encouraging these hosts who are used to doing mini 3-day, 4-day, 5-day stays to, if you want to start, building your business, you're going to have to think about doing more extended stays, couple of months, midterm listings. Now, whether or not those hosts actually do that is another thing, but people are obviously turning to, these mini stays aren't cutting it for me because I'm up against other hosts that are right next door to me. So I got to be thinking outside the box with how I can use this furnished rental of mine.
Exactly. And I think Airbnb, they started doing this a year or two ago, really encouraging more people to be hosts, which obviously dilutes the competition. Prior to that, 5 years ago, as you remember, we would talk to a investor and try to suggest that they do short term, and they didn't want to do short term. Now everybody wants to do short term. And I've noticed one thing about the market. I've talked to one client, and he's had this house for over 20, 30 years, this duplex, which is in the Fairmont Cedar area, just up the hill from University Circle and the Case. And he's been renting this out to college students for decades. Well, guess what? That market's gone. There's no more college because the colleges are building these new student residences, these new nice new apartments with fast Wi-Fi and clean, and you walk to campus as opposed to being a mile away in some dumpy duplex. So and the same thing goes with traveling nurses. I don't know how many times they've had investor talk to us and say, yeah, I'm really thinking about buying this house, which is kind of in the ghetto, but it's close to a hospital, thinking that a traveling nurse is they're by themselves, they're gonna move to your dumpy house in the ghetto, right?
Right.
Just because it's close to a hospital. So I think, what we're learning is the market's getting saturated, and only the strongest will survive. Yeah. If you've got a lot of debt load on this house, the house was not you probably bought it at the height of the market, height of the COVID market in Cleveland. You are going to have a tough sled. You're really going against the wind here.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree. I mean, even the travel nursing marketplace, which the primary website is furnishfinder.com, that's becoming saturated. I mean, I look at Cleveland Heights, University Heights, Shaker Heights, which are all great neighborhoods that we've had rentals in and still do. And you drop a pin and it's just 20 or so houses or rentals in one neighborhood alone.
Yeah.
So the fact that I think we have just worked so hard and diligently and we've worked methodically and strategically over these last really 10 years with strengthening our relationships with these corporate housing companies that work with the insurance adjusters. These companies know to call us, and we got to continue on our end to continue to foster those relationships. So come next winter, come, January, February, on my list, it's making a trip to visit with ALE in person.
Maybe we have to think about that. Sometimes
I hear where the resistance could be. I hear where it's like, hey, is that like going to a trade show and putting up all your? I get it, but they reached out to me and they were interested in, hey,
Yeah, no harm, no foul. In fact, if anybody goes, to maybe me with you on virtual. So, we'll see. That's to be discussed. But I hear what you're saying. Look, only the strong survive in the short-term rental market, which means you have to have a property that's in a good location, a safe location. It's maintained. And when I mean maintained, the windows washed, the grass cut, the leaves blown, garbage cans are weighted down by rocks and now blowing around. I mean, it's just, it looks professional. It looks tidy. I've seen too many rentals where they just think the location is everything. And, it is about 60%, 70%. But if it's a dumpy looking property, I mean, you don't need to have scented candles and soaps and little towels, but you need to have a level of cleanliness that speaks that this is being professionally maintained. And then you start adding value to the market. You add value. We put in Blink cameras, and write this down, Lindsey, a Blink camera in the kitchen that they can turn on that's being monitored by one of our VAs. If something comes up, a level of safety, spotlight, floodlights, that, motion sensor, gates for dogs. These are all the hot button issues that people are asking about. So again, the strongest survive. Only the best are going to, make it. The debt load, like I said earlier, the debt load is, mortgage yourself to buy 10 properties and 50% vacancies. That's not going to cut it. And you have to be clear-eyed about the numbers.
Yeah.
So I think this is Lindsey, part one. Mark and Melanie, this is part one of our podcast. Part two is going to be Sophie and the heat check and investors. But I want to capture what we're saying, Lindsey. So okay. Keep going. Any other thoughts?
Hey, let's stop here. We got to pay some bills. 30 seconds, and we'll be back. If you've been listening to this podcast, then you understand or should understand the pitfalls of investing in Cleveland real estate. Say you're looking for an investment property to rent, and these are the things that could happen and often do. You overpay for a house, and it's in the ghetto. Then you find that it's a money pit with endless surprise repairs. Your hapless property manager, who may be the brother-in-law of the realtor, gets a tenant who after 3 months stops paying the rent. Then the toilet explodes, and you have nobody to repair it because, guess what? The property manager is not answering the phone. Yep, that's the ugly side of the Cleveland real estate market. But we have a solution. Buy one of our properties. It's been inspected. It's been vetted. It's in a rock-solid part of town. It comes with a Gold Star tenant paying top dollar rent, and we manage it. Call us at 216-371-8160 if you're interested.
No, not right now. No. Mm-mm. Not at this time. Yeah.
I think the one more thing I want to throw in there, and that is you need to have a rapid response. People call, you need to get back to them quickly because they're going to call around. So the super hosts, again, the strong who survive, one of their features is they get right back to you. So we may want to revisit our voice note greeting and our contact form. So the contact form is always getting tweaked. So it's more and more user friendly, and it's more and more filtering out the deadwood, the waste of time calls. where they didn't read about the house and they're just calling around. That you don't want to waste your time calling those people back. The ones that have shitty credit, the one, well, I only have $20 a day to spend. I mean, really,
Right.
that contact form should filter that out. So instead of relying on Airbnb as your marketplace, which is a good market, don't get me wrong, but being able to set up your own alternative
Yeah.
contact form.
We have to, as part of, as we wind down 2025 and we get into 2026, it is just more clear to me, even just having this conversation now, that developing our own marketplace and using our website, our SEO, our Facebook ads, our Instagram ads, videos, email blasts, like it's all part of a robust marketing campaign that uses a lot of different avenues to market our company and our individual properties. The days of relying on one website to drive your traffic are gone. And
Yeah.
I know that we're no longer on VRBO because we didn't comply with their rules and regulations. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because even if we were on that website, could it drive some traffic? Sure. But we're still competing with all the other hosts on Airbnb and VRBO. So really, what's the difference? At the end of the day, I think people they want to rent a place that appeals to them, that's got the amenities that they're looking for, a host that's going to take care of them, that's going to get back to them. But a lot of these people are also just price shopping. They just want they're looking for a lower price. They want to rent the mansion for, well, I only have 12 people. I'm not using the whole, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we got to take in what we got to take in to cover our expenses. And I think some landlords out there, or hosts, are just so thirsty for getting a booking that they're forgetting, well, are you really going to cover what you got to make at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think this is one of the oldest economic problems. Whereas you think just because you have a high-end restaurant that you're going to make money. You think just because you own property that you're going to get money. You think that even if you have this great recipe for this fabulous muffin mix, when they have these little classes to teach entrepreneurialism, that's all you need. When you start getting into the weeds of making money in real estate, you need to be clear-eyed about the numbers, because the ground is constantly shifting. Just look at what COVID did to office space.
Mm-hmm.
Just decimated it. And then, it energized the housing market, but it destroyed the office space because people were working remote. These things are not new. They're always happening. And it killed the restaurant business. A lot of the high-end restaurateurs, think of Doug Katz, his restaurant Fire closed. And then he started doing these pop-up kitchens.
Right.
You've got to be able to reinvent. You don't go to school to learn how to be an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur is being able to always look at your numbers. Always look at your numbers. And if you're taking on water and you're losing money, you better know when it's happening and be prepared to doing something. Maybe you have to unload it at a loss. But if you do unload it at a loss, at least it's going to be the lesser of two evils. It'll be a less of a loss. Just, bite the bullet. It's like buying a stock. Sometimes the stock, you buy it high, it goes down. That's just the way investing is. Or be clear-eyed about, if I'm going to hold it, maybe I move to long-term versus short-term, because too many people are in short-term.
Right. And
there are people looking for that one year lease, and they don't want to spend $100 a night on a short term. So as everybody starts surfing in one beach, all of a sudden the long-term rentals beach, not a lot of people surfing there anymore. But that's the dynamic quality of American capitalism at work. They don't care who or what you are. The market is merciless in terms of that. It's very evolutionary. And that's what we're talking about. Only the strong survive. So, final thoughts, Lindsey?
No, not at this point.
Okay. Well, let's end it there and stop recording.
Thank you for listening to the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast with Mike Riley. Please add our show or follow us on Spotify, Overcast, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Leave a like or comment on the video. All engagement is appreciated. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well for video content coming soon. For any Cleveland listeners or Cleveland Browns fans, you can check out our other podcast, Cleveland Browns Anonymous, for our weekly group therapy session. This is also on all the same platforms as the Cleveland Real Estate Investor.